Hey folks, welcome back to B Mills Farm. It has been a while, and today I'm working on the chicken coop. See if I can get you far enough away. So what I did is just ran 16-foot 2x4s across the top, and now I'm just throwing the metal roofing up on top. I left a bunch of overhang on this, as you can see. I left a lot of overhang. I'm gonna put some supports that go from the edge to the body just to help keep it stiff. Hopefully it's not too top heavy and the wind won't blow it over. I do plan on putting some sort of outriggers on the bottom somehow, just to when I park it I can put the legs down and hopefully it'll be nice and stable. So yeah, not too much exciting stuff, just plugging away, and I guess I'll let the video roll for a little bit. Well, it feels really good to be actually moving forward with projects around here instead of just getting chores done, and that's basically it. The last few weekends I've been super busy on some side jobs, and so the farm has kind of just stayed stagnant for the time being, which is sort of all right because it's been really rainy and really wet, and everything's just a mud pit right now, but feels good to get something done because winter is coming. We've already had a little snow on the ground, and these chickens in here need a home. All right, so I have not showed these guys yet, I don't think, but I have 20 golden lace Wyandottes, I believe that's how you say it. Unfortunately, a few are roosters because they're straight runs, but yeah, they will be the first animals, the first chickens to go in the coop. And once the coop is done, then I can start getting more chicks, and they will all be in this coop, because my goal for next year is to be able to sell a substantial amount of eggs in the spring through the fall, and even hopefully have enough chickens that when it does slow down to almost a stop in the winter, hopefully I can have enough chickens that I will still at least have enough eggs for myself and my family. Now this coop, let me show you. So the idea with this is not to be 100% waterproof, 100% windproof. Chickens are very, very durable, and I think by and large they are very over-coddled. My chickens, Carl's posse out here, that are truly free range, I don't feed them, water them, shelter them, nothing. I'll come out here in a snowstorm in the middle of the night to check on the animals, and they'll be roosted on top of the barn getting snowed on. They have plenty of space to get in, out of the snow, out of the wind, out of the rain, and they choose not to. So this will be way overdone for what they need, but it'll be nice to have a nice, pretty much dry, pretty much windless area for them. And my idea is to put I think it's Hen Gear makes them, but roll-away nest boxes on the outside so that I can just walk around the outside of the coop and gather eggs and won't really need to go inside. For the floors, I'm going to leave them as they are. There's about an inch gap in between. Hopefully that's a big enough area to get most of the manure out. The chickens will be I'm going to build some roosts up above, and when the chickens are down, hopefully they'll scratch a little bit and work their manure through the cracks. If the cracks are not big enough, I can always come in afterwards and cut out bigger gaps for them. But it's nice to have about an inch because you won't really have any predator issues. Rats could probably get in here if they really wanted to, but I don't worry about full-grown chickens and rats. I don't think it's an issue. So for these guys, the goal is to be completely soy and corn free for their feed. And any feed that I do give them, which will be primarily through the winter, will be as clean, organic as possible. I know organic doesn't really mean clean anymore, but it'll be as clean a feed as possible, still corn and soy free. And then the summertime, my plan is to move the coop behind cows, which is another thing I have to talk about, and the chickens will have a 1/4 acre every day to eat bugs, seeds, grass, and they'll be put in. The fly cycle is every 4 days in cow patties, so they will be in probably within 2 days, a day or two behind the cows, and so they should have plenty of fly larvae and all that to sustain themselves. My goal is to pretty much not feed them once the snow's off the ground, basically. Going back to over-coddled chickens, I think that all of our livestock is very overfed because we're chasing that production. And I think if you just give them enough room and let them fend for themselves a little bit, then they will be just fine. Yes, your egg production will be down, but your quality of eggs will be up. And if you can kind of play with the numbers, how many chickens you want, you're going to need a few more chickens, but you're not going to feed them out of your pocket for most of the year. So at the end of the day, it should work out. Chickens aren't necessarily in the wild, but there are plenty of birds in the wild that survive completely on their own, lay eggs, hatch eggs, blah, blah, blah. If you give them enough room, enough potential to feed themselves, they will do it. And my hens that I do have that are in Carl's little posse, they, like I said, I don't feed them, water them, nothing. They do it all on their own just because there's 6 of them and they don't want to be caught, touched, nothing. And so they've survived many dog and coyote and fox attacks. So I just let them do their thing. And every now and again when they lay eggs where I can get them or see them, they are insanely orange. Like, we've had the chickens cooped up and I move the coop and give them options for bugs and grass and all that before, but still gave them conventional feed, and their yolk was orange compared to like a white egg you get from the grocery store. But these ones are far above and beyond even those eggs. So hopefully every egg that comes out of this coop will be the very best quality egg it could possibly be, and that's because I'm going to make the chickens eat what chickens eat. Now I know that's going to be highly controversial and people are going to say that I'm mean to my chickens, but that's just fine. You can think that if you want. Like all the mud. The chickens will be just fine, and if they do seem to not be doing very well on that system, then I will obviously feed them because I want eggs. And I mentioned they will be following cows, and well, let me just show you. For anyone wondering, he's still here. right, let's talk about moving forward the right way. These are 2 heifers and a bull. They are unrelated. It's kind of funny, they all come from red cows, but they're black because the bull was black. But so these will be breeding animals, and the breed that they are is Dexters. This is originally what I wanted to start with. I took a detour and now I'm back to it. These guys are about 5 months old now. I've had them for a few weeks and they have been in the barn. I let them out earlier. I'll give some footage of that, but we got to get that longhorn out of here. So instead of letting them mingle, I wanted to keep them separate, and hopefully we can get him out of here. Now these guys are all registered. They're not polled, but they do carry the A2 protein gene for milk production, which I will be keeping at least one of them for a milk cow. I'll do some calf sharing with it. I'm not going to get a ton of milk out of it because they're a smaller cow, but nonetheless I will have access to raw milk, which is very awesome because it's good for you, and you can't buy it in New York because it's illegal here. Now I know originally I said that I was going to hold off on cattle for the foreseeable future, and there's an IPP behind the camera having a rough time. But these guys just kind of fell in my lap. They were really meant to be. There's a lady about 20 minutes from me that I had talked to her a couple of years ago about Dexters, and so just out of nowhere I just sent her a message and asked if she had for the future any animals that she'd be willing to sell, because I mostly was interested in just a milk cow for myself and my wife. So she texted me back and said, I have 3 that was just about to list when you messaged me. I have 3 that I want to get rid of, and it's these 2 heifers and the bull. So I was like, well, if that's not meant to be, I don't know what is. So these guys, the bull, he'll max out at between 900 and 1,000 pounds. This lady raises Dexters specifically for beef, so she breeds them to be a nice thick animal. So the bull, I think her bull was like 1,100 pounds, which is big for a Dexter. So these guys will be on the bigger side of Dexters, which is good because I want beef production. Now one of them is a lot smaller, and that's because her bull jumped the fence and bred one of her heifers that was, I think she was only 6 months old or so. So she was very small and she had a small calf, but she delivered it fine. So that's good news. Tomorrow I have a big meeting with somebody that could possibly change the future of the farm. She's got a big piece of property that she is potentially going to let me graze animals on, and that's another nice thing about Dexters is they're super docile. They're just wonderful animals. They're super gentle, small or big. They're just awesome. So I totally feel fine having them on somebody else's property, and I can have more of them because they're small. They need about half the space that traditional cattle need. So I'm really excited to see what happens with it. Just this property alone would be plenty for these guys, but my goal is to, over the years, build a registered herd of Dexters. that I can sell beef, breeding stock, and I'll probably always keep one for milk. So not only was the timing perfect on these guys, but if you've noticed, I spent a ton of money on fence this year, and I just feel really foolish having all this nice fence and no animals put in it. So I'm just gonna have cows. No matter what that looks like, I'm gonna have some. Hopefully someday I can have enough to make it worthwhile, but in the meantime, they're my favorite animal on the farm, so I will just keep some around. In other news, I started a podcast, and the podcast is called Keep Farmin' Podcast. I made a YouTube channel for it, so if you guys would, go subscribe to that channel. I just have a quick intro video on there, and when I do get my first episode up, it'll be on YouTube, on the Keep Farmin' Podcast YouTube channel. It'll be on Spotify, Apple, and all of the podcast platforms. So like I said, if you would, go over there, check it out, subscribe, show some support, and it's a perfect time to start podcasting. I've wanted to do it for probably over a year now, just never got around to it. And now that the weather is changing for the worse, it's much nicer to sit inside and do some content instead of out here when the snow's blowing and all that. So that's going to do it for today's video. Until next time, keep farming. We'll see you later.